Okay, well, let's get going. Thank you for all coming. It's right on time, and we're going to have fun tonight. We're going to talk about starting a business for yourself. I'm sure that's why you're here. I'm excited about that. I've studied this a lot over the course of my life and my career, and the other fellas that are part of other coaches. Sorry, I forgot my name tag. I should have my name tag on. My name is Coach Al, and we welcome you to launch lesson number 12, how to start your own business. So we commend you and believe in you. We're glad you're here. And our job, our vision really for Launch Class is to help young adults get more successfully launched in their career, family, etc. So we're trying to teach subjects and topics that aren't typically taught in school or at home. Things that we wish we had learned when we were, young adults in our early 20s kind of thing. So our hats off to you for being here. Your coaches, with name tags like mine, should be. We're here for you. We want to help you successfully launch. We're here to encourage you and help you find resources if you need it. And when you keep coming back, you'll build up a lot of confidence in your future. That's what we're here for. So it's about you. Help us to help you. With your little handout there's a one-pager about topics. So give us some feedback on topics that you think you'd like to hear going forward that might help you. And we'll often refer to this 7 areas diagram here. This is, we call it the life choices diagram. You can call it whatever you like. It's just a pictorial of life and some of how we deal with life and how we wrestle with life. And there's 7 areas of life. Some sources talk about 5, 6, 7. That doesn't matter so much. But this came from a men's group that some of us were part of in years past. And this is it's actually Zig Ziglar's 7 areas of life. Look up Zig Ziglar and you'll find his 7 areas. Spiritual, family, social, financial, career, physical, and mental. The idea is if you have some level of success and competence, confidence in these 7 areas, you'll probably have a good life, a happy life. That's our goal, right? Ultimately, our goal would be this. We really want to have lasting peace, happiness, confidence, fulfillment. Those are kind of some key words. Lasting being the key word. And we know from our experience, I'm sure you all know as well as I do, it's hard to find. We think we're going to be happy with a new car. We get it, a few months later, it's not so exciting anymore. It's not lasting. We think we might be happier with a new girlfriend, boyfriend, or getting that promotion, or passing that course. Well, it lasts for a little while, but not lasting. And so that's what we're talking about. So here's the main idea is here's you or us, and we have choices. Every day we make choices. We have life squeezing down on us, problems of life. We have God pushing up, encouraging us in a good direction. You might think of it as the good conscience, bad conscience on your shoulder. And so very often, instead of turning toward the problem and dealing with the problem or the goal, we will turn left and we'll escape. That's a very simple way of looking at things, but it's a very helpful way of looking at things. Escape can be fun, food, pleasure, etc., etc. Ultimately wasting time. To some degree, these things are perfectly fine, but not to a high degree, and especially not if we have some major issues over here that are creating trouble for us. We want to deal with it. But we're afraid, uncertain, we're doubtful. That's just how we are. We don't know. We don't have the answers. That's why you're here. That's why we're here. Because we want to help you have some answers to develop some skills and some confidence in these 7 areas. But what we find, and here's a lot of what we're about, is when we turn towards a problem, God will meet us there. What we learned in this section in one of the books we studied, it's called With. The title of the book is just called With. About with God. God wants to be with us. He wants to help us in all the areas. And if you're not familiar with that kind of language, don't worry about it. We're not going to get too deep into it. But that is a big part of when we turn towards a problem, God will meet us there. And we find out that we can have a lot of the answers. And sometimes just simply walking towards a problem and asking God for some help, we will get the answers. But we're here to be coaches as well to help you navigate through this. So today we're talking about what you'd call career and the idea of starting your own business as opposed to just working a job. Jobs are perfectly fine, but we don't learn about starting your own business in school. So that's why we're talking about it today. So it's mostly career is the idea, the area that we're talking about today. Last time we talked about money management fundamentals, which was the financial area. So this is related. How to start your own business. Why would you want to learn about starting your own business? That's a really good question. We go to school. I went to school. I got a university degree to get a job. That's what most school teaches us, how to get a good education. That's what our parents would love us to do, right? Get a good education, get a good job. Then they've done their job. They've successfully launched us into the world. Most of what we learn in school, university, college, is how to be an employee, how to get a good job. And I'm saying that there's nothing innately wrong with that whatsoever. But what I found personally is my nature is to want to be more creative than just working for someone, doing a task for someone. And so in your own business, you have a chance to be more creative ultimately, and you have higher opportunity for income, etc. So it's nice to know about other options. That's what this lesson's about today. Some people are just more wired to be in business for themselves. And so that's one of the, call it soul-searching pieces of things we like to do. In our discussions in the second part, when we break into small groups, we'll talk about that. Because it's good to explore. Am I wired more to be an employee, or am I wired more to be in my own business? And if I'm wired to be in my own business, what kind of business? All these questions that it's good to wrestle with at a young age. It really is. It reminds me of Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's. Before he founded McDonald's at age 58, he was a milkshake machine salesman. And he happened to be delivering to the McDonald's brothers. And he said, wow, this is a phenomenal restaurant. We could duplicate this. And the rest is history. They created a franchise out of what the McDonald's brothers had fine-tuned at their one location. That's the franchise model. I haven't even included that as part of the discussion here, but that's a whole other area. That's a bigger business, if you will. So in business for ourselves, we generally have more freedom to be creative. We generally have more income opportunity. Most businesses have unlimited expansion capability. And one of the big benefits of starting your own business is you can build something, and then once you're finished your career, you could sell it or pass it on to your kids or your heirs. That's an option when you have your own business, not an option as an employee. Okay, different types of businesses. We just touched on one, the franchise model. The idea of a franchise is somebody has fine-tuned every little detail about the business. And then for that value, you can buy into that franchise, become a franchisee, and if you run it exactly like they say, you will almost for sure have success. And most businesses fail. The high percentage of businesses fail. And so when you buy a franchise, you have a much higher possibility that you're going to succeed. And you typically pay a lot for that, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 for that, to buy into a franchise. Never mind the cost of putting up the building, etc. So as I was driving here, I noticed we passed the Trimac head office. Trimac is a trucking company, a very well-known, very large trucking company. That's a good example of being in business. You could start off driving a truck because you don't have any money to buy a truck or start a business. You start off driving a truck for somebody. You find out you like it, you have a little bit of ambition, and you say, I want to own my own truck. So you save your money, and now you buy your own truck, and you contract to the same people you were driving for, but you now make more because you own the truck. Now you're responsible for fixing that truck and maintaining it, etc., etc. That's the second level. You're a business for yourself, but you're just one person. So you're a sole proprietor, contractor. And if you have a little more ambition and you want to work harder, take more risk, then you pursue a contract. Can I get a contract and run, say, 3 trucks for you? I'm gonna do this route between Calgary and Edmonton for you. Can I get that contract? And you might have to go to a number of different trucking outfits to try to get that contract. So you get this contract. Now you have to run 3 trucks, say, yours. You're only one person, you can only one truck. So now you have to hire a couple of guys to drive your trucks. As you save your money, now you bought 3 trucks, you hire 2 people, now you're bringing in more money. Now you have more headache, more potential profit margin. That would be yours, more than you can do just driving your own truck. So that's a simple example, but that can be expanded, like Trimac, to literally, I'm going to get thousands of drivers. Massive, massive business. So that's an example. I was thinking of another one too. Maybe it'll be on here. So here's a few examples. Buy low and sell higher. In other words, a Kool-Aid stand is a simple example. A Kool-Aid stand is a business. And because it's kids running it and not making very much money, they don't have to be licensed, they don't have to pay tax, right? Now, if they do really well, they would have to file their tax. But a Kool-Aid stand is a good example of a simple business. You buy the Kool-Aid, you add value, you mix it up, you put ice in it, you have it ready for people, they pay you a premium on what you've bought the Kool-Aid for. You've added value. Now we know about Amazon. A lot of people are making money on Amazon, buying and selling. They might buy outside of Amazon and then sell on Amazon. For example, you could buy a motorcycle. Yeah, you could buy a motorcycle and part it out, sell the parts on Amazon, and make money that way. Some people actually buy on Amazon and sell on Amazon. They just provide a service either way. Look for good deals. Try to buy low, sell higher. Cars are a very good example. Lots and lots of people buy and sell cars. They're good with their hands, good with tools, they fix cars. So they look for cars on Kijiji or wherever that need work. So they're being sold for a low price because they need work. You fix them up, sell them for more. That's making a business for yourself. And once a person can expand, they find they're good at that, well, let's expand that. Let's get a car lot here. Let's get a hire mechanic. Let's do that on a larger scale. That's business for yourself. Many examples of how to be in business, but adding value somehow. Buying low, sell higher, add value. Try to get exclusive rights to distributing a product or service in your area. My second job, third job out of university, I was doing that. I was working for a Toronto-based company, and they had the exclusive rights to certain products for the Canadian market. I was their Western region sales rep. And so they, over the years, had built up this network of service people across the country to service, in this case it was printers and copiers and things like that. And then they eventually started selling the printers and copiers and things like that. So they serviced and sold. And because they had the reach across the country, they could attract suppliers, manufacturers, and they could tell the manufacturer, look, we have people across the country. We can move your product for you. Give us a good deal. And so that was how that company worked. But I've known people that have just one individual working from their home. They found a good product somewhere in the world and said, can I get exclusive rights to my area or Canada? And away they go. They start marketing it, selling it. As long as they can do, decent volume, the manufacturer will give them exclusive rights. Another good example of how to be in business is take what you do as an employee and offer that product or service yourself. I was using that example as a truck driver. That's one good example. You can do the same thing as a mechanic, as an auto mechanic. You start off working for somebody else. Eventually you open your own shingle, your own garage. You start fixing cars, you do a good job, you get more customers, you have to hire more mechanics, away you go. A lot of people have done really, really well doing that. As a consultant, oil and gas is a good example. Many people, when the oil and gas companies laid off a lot of people, what did the people who were laid off do if they have a lot of experience? They would become a consultant and they would consult to the oil and gas companies, because the oil and gas companies, it was easier for them and less risky for them to just hire a consultant versus hire employees. So that's just one person doing a job. So the same job the person was doing before, now they're doing it as a consultant. Calgary Fasteners is a good example. Good friends of mine. Well, close friend when I was a kid, his father founded Calgary Fasteners. He worked for a company like Calgary Fasteners for years before, saved up his money, started Calgary Fasteners, and set up. They have stores all over the place, all over Western Canada now, as far as I know. Eventually brought in a partner, an investor to help grow it, so share the company amongst other people. That's another example of growing a business, is bringing on investors, borrowing money possibly, or bringing on investors as shareholders to expand. If you have a good model and it's making money, investors would be interested in investing in your company and expanding it. That's beyond the scope of what we're talking about today, but that's just an example. Plumbing is another example. Start off as a plumber and work for somebody else, find you like it, find you're good at it, and expand it, just like the auto mechanic example. My friend, I won't say his name, but mentioned him last time actually. He would tell you that he wasn't smart enough to go to university, but he was really good with his hands. So he got a diploma, I believe at SAIT, in sheet metal, aircraft sheet metal technician. Started working for an aircraft company, aircraft repair company, and was really good at it, good with his hands, good as a supervisor, and the company offered him a contract to build floats. I mean, these things are like 20 feet long, at least, that these planes ride on. They can land on lakes, right? Gave him a contract to build floats. So now he's in business for himself. Now he has motivation to work a little harder, to cut the costs, to do a great job, bringing it on time, on budget. He's done really, really well. Really, really well. Construction is another example. Many people start off working for themselves or for somebody else in construction, eventually become their own contractor. Choose a specialty in the construction industry, put out your shingle, put out advertising. This is what I do. I'm a drywall specialist, or I'm a finishing wood carpenter, or I do roofing or siding. Grow your company, do a good job, you can grow it. Doctors, dentists, lawyers are a slightly different example. They're usually proprietors, but they certainly can expand beyond more than just one person. But usually they're one person, and they're a professional corporate. So that's a special kind of corporation, because the actual company depends on that individual. That individual is the specialist, the licensed person. Lastly, just for example, we talked about writing a book, write or play music, or as an athlete. Those are kind of unique things, but all of those examples, you could be in business for yourself as opposed to being an employee. So that was the longest slide for this one. Now my pointer stopped working again. Okay, well, we'll see if manually works. There we go. Key principles. So when you start thinking about this idea, you don't want to be in a hurry. You want to do a little bit of, like we talked about, soul searching, prayerfully consider things like, what are my key gifts and talents? How did God make me? What are my strengths that are unique kind of to me? What do I really love to do? What am I really good at? And could I use them better, my gifts and talents, as an employee or in my own business? Because when you do strive out in your own business, you often will have to have saved money, and you have to invest money in your business. So you take a risk of that money you've saved, money that could go towards a house, for example. The person who I'm thinking about that went from a mechanic to having his own mechanic shop, had made good money as a mechanic. Actually, then he became a car salesman, saved his money, had a house mostly paid off, decided he wants to get his own business as a mechanical shop. Where was the money to get it? It was in his house. So he mortgaged the house to start the shop, start the business. Very common way to do it. So one of the key aspects of starting a business is saving, so that you have opportunity to one day perhaps start a business. So secondly, have a clear vision. And some of the material that came before some of the study material before the course talked about this, which you can refer to. Have a clear vision, ideally a written business plan. And it's not easy to write a business plan. You want to take your time on it. Don't get it. My main point is don't be intimidated by it, but the more you put into it, the more you'll get out. The more you can fine tune your vision and your plan, the more you will get out that you can give it to other people to give you feedback on. Ultimately, you might want to give it to a bank to lend you money based on. So as clear as you can write that plan, as detailed as you can write that plan, the better. And just get going and improve as you go. Secondly, or thirdly, do some market research, which means test your ideas. You might think that you have this wonderful recipe for a restaurant that everybody will just want to come and eat at your place if you start because you're a good cook and you have this great pizza, for example. But you want to test it. Test market, right? Because it may not be good. Start a restaurant probably takes at least $100,000. I wouldn't want to risk that without having tested, our menu. And this is a really big one. Start small and get cash flow positive as soon as possible. Most businesses fail for cash flow. They get into a cash flow crunch. And because once you have the cash flowing, you have orders coming in, and you have to buy inventory, and you have to pay people. And very easy to get underwater in terms of our cash flow. And so, for example, I read this book years ago. It's called The 6-Month Fix: Adventures in Rescuing Failing Companies. And this was a great book for understanding what are the key aspects of why businesses fail and key aspects of turning a business around. And that's what was the point. Start small, get cash flow positive as soon as possible. You see a lot of guys, when they go from employee to having their own company, like just say they're a welder, they spend huge money on this fancy truck, and now they have this big overhead payment. That's not a good idea. Start small. Get a used truck. Make sure your cash flow positive. Make sure your model is working well before you invest more. That's that idea. Fourthly, build an inexpensive website with WordPress. And we have an example of that. Our launch class website was built with WordPress. I didn't have a big budget. I talked to a few of my friends who had some experience. They said WordPress is the best ready-to-go platform for building a website. So you go to WordPress.com, build a website. But then I found out later, okay, what to migrate that website from WordPress to your own or to another host, well, that costs big bucks. So then that one of those same people told me, go to Fiverr. That's that website, Fiverr.com, at 5rr.com. And so I ended up hiring a fella, I think it was from Nigeria, to migrate the website from WordPress to the other host, which is, I think, is a Bluehost. And he only charged $30 Canadian for everything, whereas it would have been at least $300 to hire somebody here to do that. So that was very valuable, and he did a great job. His English was good, his communication was good, integrity was great. So same with Facebook page and social media marketing. You can hire people from Fiverr if you need to, if you have a low budget. But those are just things these days that you want to learn how to do for marketing, right? Facebook marketing and social media marketing. Have a mentor or two and continuously improve. That's what a lot of companies do well, continuous improvement. Having a mentor or two that have been in business. A lot of guys and gals that have been in business love to mentor young people and encourage them along because they know it's a challenge, but it's really rewarding. Sole proprietor versus expansion. I alluded to this already. When you first go into business for yourself, you just simply don't have a boss anymore. You're doing the same thing you used to do perhaps, but just you. And that's perfectly fine. You want to be in business, you want to get rid of the boss, that's perfectly fine. Now you're in business. And you have a little bit more flexibility, obviously. But the question is, are you content to just ditch the boss and work for yourself? Or do you want to grow something bigger than yourself? And so that's the idea of expansion. Instead of just trading hours for dollars, which depends on you showing up every day, now you're limited by your time. And we've talked, as we've alluded to, if you hires, if you expand and hire some people, now you're duplicating yourself through the efforts of others. So now the pie becomes bigger and bigger and bigger that you're dealing with, right? That's the idea. And of course, there's no limit. Depending on the kind of business, there's no limit of how you can expand. The multiplication, the duplication. But does that fit for you? Is it suitable for you? Do you like the idea of employing others and leading others and serving others? Because it seems to me the best, most successful business people, they really get excited about helping others, their employees, obviously their customers, but really they get excited about mentoring, training, encouraging, teaching their employees. And then potentially, perhaps ideally, train, mentor the right people, and then eventually you don't need to be there. Wouldn't that be nice? You will have residual income. That's a goal for a lot of people in business. Get 10, 20, 30 employees. If they're good and pay them, for performance, pretty soon you don't have to show up anymore, or at least very little. So the math is attractive. By yourself, you can produce, let's just say an example, as a salesperson working for somebody else, you can produce $500,000 a year for a company. You get paid $100,000, just ballpark numbers, and you're limited by your time, hours for dollars. In business, the sky's the limit. A couple more key principles. Thoroughly explore your own talents. We talked about that, and interests. Pray about it. One of the themes of Launch Class is that God has the answers that we need. We just have to ask. One of the key scriptures that I love is that God says He gives wisdom generously for all who will ask. And there's a book. That's one of the things I want to remember. There's a book called, it's a very interesting book, called Our Unfair Advantage. And it's talking about our unfair advantage because we have the ability to talk to God and ask God for the secrets and the directions and those breakthrough ideas, not just for business but in life. But this is about business. That book is about business. It's called Our Unfair Advantage. The advantage we have that we can do that. Go to God for secrets and secrets of success. I talked about reading the book, 6-month thing, so read lots of resources on the internet about being in business, and avail yourself of the free resources. And there was 3 of them that were part of the study material before the class. One of them was this Canada.ca, business start planning. Why would the government want to encourage people and help people be in business? Well, because they get their tax revenue from it, right? They want to see people succeed and see people productive. So there's a lot of good free resources, and that relates to the idea of don't rush into anything. Make sure you're careful and you've talked to people, you have some mentorship, even at Launch Class. Ultimately, which is the title of Launch Class, is you can do it. That's the bottom line, is particularly with God, you can do it. But with good coaching, like we have here, good mentorship, you can do it. And that's what I've kind of discovered in life, is we have far, far more abilities than what we think we have. If we'll just go for it and, pursue it. Just pursue it. Stick your neck out and say, I think I'd like to do that. And people will help you. People will gather around. So I think that's it for the first part. We're going to break into small groups now. And so questions for discussion. The small group part is we get a lot more benefit than just this one-way dialogue here with the large group. So take turns sharing with each other some of what you learned and liked about today's lesson. Particularly, I'm assuming you're here today because you're thinking and considering, maybe I want to be in business for myself, or I want to get better at what I'm doing, and potentially. So take turns sharing some of our specific dreams and goals in this area. That's the start, is just articulating those things. And then, as you talk around the table, tell each other what steps I'm going to take this week to move towards that. It could be a little bit of research, it could be anything. But when you lay out, if you have your dream out there and you lay out some of the steps you think you need to take in order to move towards that dream, that's the first part. Write down some of those steps. And then tell somebody, here's what I'm going to do this week. Then you come back to Launch Class, and someone's going to say, how'd you do? Right? We want to encourage each other. It's huge, this accountability and encouragement and speaking your goals. And can you think of anyone else? Try to listen to and encourage one another as you're doing that. And can you think of anybody else who may benefit from this message? Perhaps share it with them. And join the Launch Class mission. We'd love you to join us to improve our society, which is growing young people, so they can have more success and have a more positive impact on society, have great families, and ultimately we want people to learn these lessons that we've learned at a younger age so they can be more successful. Tell others about it. Next week's lesson is to be in 2 weeks. Check the website or register on the website on the blogs to be notified of blog updates. And that's it. So let's break the second half and we'll talk to you later. Thank you.